Hey everybody, I'm Rolland from Rolland Riches, and there's great improv. Whoa, okay, I'm gonna stop you right there because today we're doing something totally different. Hey everybody, I'm Rolland from Rolland and Riches, and today we're seeing where did Rolland screw up? Yeah, because nothing says 2020 like looking back at your mistakes. All right, let's watch me make some mistakes. In this first clip, watch how instead of responding to what Rich is saying, I'm really just doing my own thing.
You're gonna be great.
Feel great.
You're gonna be great. You're about to graduate. I'll just give you a minute.
Wow, Rolland, what the hell, man? I mean, Rich is literally talking to you and you're just totally ignoring him. Now, was it fun for me in the moment? Oh yeah, in my brain, I was having a great time. And I'm sure I had this idea in my head and I wanted to get it all out there before I responded to him. But did you see what it did? It forced Rich to deal with me not responding. And yes, I know you could choose to be a character whose game is that they don't respond to what's going on. And yeah, that can be a totally fun game to play in a scene. But I know that that wasn't this choice, because it was the very beginning of the entire show, and I wouldn't have chosen to do that type of game that early on, because there's no way the audience would care about it. So, since I wasn't doing it as a choice, that means it was really me being a bad teammate and not responding to what's going on in the scene. And the end result is, I ignored him and forced him to deal with it.
I'll just give you a minute.
Now, what I could have done is responded to what Rich was saying and then immediately go back to my thing. You know, I could have responded and then started singing the graduation song again and playing with the tassel again. And not only would that have put my partner and I on the same page, but it also would have started making the singing and the playing with the tassel and the hat a little more important. I mean, at first, it was just my doing something, right? There was no reason for it and no reason for it to be important. But if I interrupt it and then come back to it, then clearly it means something to my character and it starts to become important. Who knows? Maybe the whole scene would have ended up me singing and responding. I could have put on my gown, sat at breakfast, played video games, gone to the movies, and all the while singing and playing with the tassels. But instead, I ended up ignoring what was going on, forcing my partner to deal with it, and when I realized I was ignoring Rich, I dropped what I was doing in order to compensate. And now I have a scene where I dropped my thing and I ignored my partner. All right, let's watch me screw up some more. In this clip, watch how Rich's character, my character's grandmother, in a flashback, watch how she talks to me. Specifically, watch how scary she sounds before we cut back to the original scene.
Yeah, Grandma,
Wow!
I'm studying.
You're gonna graduate?
That's the plan, but you know, classes are really tough.
You better fucking graduate. Grandma's very proud of you.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's sometimes hard to tell, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Your mom is not the easiest person.
Yeah, so Rich clearly did the scary voice, and it came as a surprise, and I should have responded to that. Now, if I don't get a chance to respond to how scary Grandma is being during the flashback, then I absolutely should acknowledge it when we cut back. But do I? No. No, I don't.
You better fucking graduate. Grandma's very proud of you.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's sometimes hard to tell, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Your mom is not the easiest person.
Nope.
What the F, Rolland? After Grandma talks like that, the audience is waiting for me to respond to it, to be affected by it, or at the very least, acknowledge the damn thing. But I didn't. Okay, this is not as much fun as I thought it was going to be, by the way, but let's watch me mess up one more part in this scene. As you watch this clip, pay attention to how both the end of the flashback and what Rich says immediately after we cut back solidifies that my mom never went to college and how I pretty much just ignored it. Yeah, I'm sensing a theme here.
You are not going to college!
I know, you've reminded me a few times. Listen, I'm proud that you're going to college because I didn't stand a chance.
This is a very tough...
You're not going to, you're done.
No, I'm
I'm proud that
To be fair, I still have another 3 days and 2 finals to take.
So when we flash back, I'm the grandma telling mom she's never going to college. Then we cut back, my mom is now telling me she never stood a chance. And I mean, if that had happened in real life and my mom said that to me and I ignored it, I'd be a pretty bad son. In a scene, you have to react to something like that. Because if you don't care, why does the audience care? They won't. And they won't buy it. It doesn't feel realistic. Again, unless you're playing a character who, you know, that's their game. They care more about themselves and what their mom is saying. Unless it's that kind of game in a scene, it's going to come off unrealistic. I mean, this could have been a great moment for a mom and a kid. Maybe I, as the kid, learned something I didn't know about mom that day. Or maybe we have an emotional moment about what my graduating means to her. Or maybe by responding to it, we realize that mom is bitter and envious that I'm graduating, and maybe we get into a fight and I quit school at the last second before ever graduating. Who knows what could have happened? But instead, I let all of these opportunities go because I end up ignoring something my partner said, and that ends up hurting me. The more I give to my partner, the better the scene and the show are going to end up being. Okay, we're going to move on to later in the show because I didn't just make mistakes in the beginning, I also made them later on. In this clip, watch how this scene is clearly over, but because it didn't end good enough for me, I keep trying to keep the scene going until I find an ending that works, and I just end up grasping at straws. This video was a horrible idea.
Sounds good.
All right. You've been a good bookie.
You make it sound like it's the end of our relationship.
No, I'm just telling you, you've been a good bookie.
It's been 14 seconds at this point, and you know the scene is over. I realize the scene is over, and I edit to a new scene, right? Nope.
You realize it's a little weird to be telling somebody you don't get a haircut and you don't turn around and say you've been a good stylist, good barber.
I don't get haircuts.
Yeah, sorry, that's my bad.
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay, it's been another 14 seconds. Do you think I just cut my losses and edit to a new scene?
Are you leaving? Are you going to a different bookie? What's...
No, I never do that. Come on, we have an exclusive relationship.
This has been going on for a very long
It's been going on
time.
for a long time.
Yeah, that went on for a total of 40 seconds. And I wasted that entire time trying to grasp at something, anything, so the scene can regain momentum. But it never did. It just became awkward, and we had to create a transition to a new scene that by that point just felt kind of forced. If I had just edited the scene, no one would have been the wiser. But because I wanted to end on a big laugh or something, and my ego got in the friggin' way, I didn't do the right move, and I messed up the scene. All right, I can't take much more of this, so let's do a quick recap. Respond and be affected by what your partner says. You saw me just sing and do my thing while Rich was actually talking to me. I needed to respond, or at the very least acknowledge my partner is talking to me. If I don't care what they're saying, if I'm ignoring it, all the audience is going to see is the lack of communication. All they're going to see is the ignoring of what my partner is saying. They're no longer paying attention to what I'm doing or what Rich is saying. They're just noticing the gap between the two players on stage. Be affected by how someone says something. Not just the words. Sometimes the tone makes a huge difference. Grandma talked in a really scary voice, and instead of reacting to that or having it affect me, like maybe now I'm scared of grandma, or I was graduating purely out of fear, or maybe it taught me that fear is the only way to get people to change, and so I try to scare people. I mean, that would have been really fun to play. But I didn't even acknowledge that she was scary. And yeah, we went from a cut to back to the original scene, but a nice little reference, a nice acknowledgement, something to show that what had happened meant something, the audience would have liked that. Make what your partner says be important. Okay, there's a pattern to what's going on here, and yeah, it's not a surprise. I believe these are all really important things, and if I'm not reacting to what my partner says or reacting to how they say it, or if my mom says she never stood a chance to graduate and I don't make what she said important, then I'm letting all sorts of opportunities slip through my fingers. And it means I now have to work harder to try and make the scene work, and it's not going to feel free-flowing, and it won't be as fun as scenes can be, and it kind of stops me from being on the same page as my partner. And that's no fun. Get your ego out of the way. Look, the only reason I didn't edit that scene was pure friggin' ego. I wanted the big laugh, I wanted to have a really great moment on stage, and once the scene fizzled, I wasn't willing to cut my losses. And that's all pure ego. It was 100% me wanting to be good or wanting to be funny or notice, and I didn't want to let a bad moment on stage happen. And I'll tell you why. It's because I had friends in that theater watching me who had never seen me do improv before. And I made trying to have a good show be the product. And that's never going to work. You got to focus on just being in the moment and listening to your partner and doing just good improv and let the result be what the result is. And finally, if you need to edit a scene, just do it. Whether you're in the wings off stage and your teammates are playing, or you're in a two-person show like ours, don't be afraid to edit just because a scene hasn't hit a really high point. The energy may end up dropping more, and you'll never find a satisfying time to edit. Now, this doesn't mean edit immediately or edit just because they haven't gotten a laugh. Give a scene time to breathe and give the players time to figure out what the scene's about. But my scene had been going on for a while, and it was time to edit. But instead, I let it go on 40 more seconds. That's 40 seconds way too long, and I could have edited at any time instead of trying to find a miracle. Okay, I think that's all I can take about my mistakes for now. I'd like to thank my partner Rich for putting up with me on stage in that show. And I'm not putting a link to that show because I'm not feeling too great about it right now, but I am putting a link to our baseball scene from the California Comedy Festival in 2017. I've gone ahead and put that link below. It's one of my favorite scenes we've ever done. Next week, we'll be back to finding great improv everywhere. So if you're on a team that you want to showcase, please comment below or send me an email. There's great improv everywhere, and I would love to show the world how great your improv is. Happy New Year, everybody, and goodbye 2020. Good riddance.